everyone. I would love to share today about unschooling in the teenage years. I am very passionate about the topic of unschooling. I began my unschooling journey with my children in 2011, and it has taken us on such an amazing, joyful adventure. We've traveled around the country, played lots of computer games together, we've made lots of friends, and this way of life, it never ends. We seem to have this assumption that schooling or education is up until a particular age, and then the child moves out of that learning phase, and then they move into adolescence or adulthood, and then it's on to getting a job and a career. But with unschooling, there is no transition out of that, and there's no transition into that either for a child coming into the world and not attending school and just unschooling their whole life. So what it looks like coming into that is just a natural continuation of development, which does become interrupted once that child has to leave the home to go to daycare or kindy or school. And then, so that is a transition. Then they're transitioning from that natural learning that, in their comfortable environment at home around their parents. They're moving into that first phase of transition where they're going to school and they're learning. And then they come out of that transition when they graduate, or if they leave school early, and then they transition into the workforce. So this is seen as the normal progression of education and learning, but it's not for unschooling. Unschooling is the opposite of schooling, which is why it's called unschooling, because there is no concept of formal learning. There is no concept of now it's time to learn, you must go to school, and there's no concept of you've learned everything you need and now it's time to get a job. Unschooling has no transitioning if it's followed the way that it's meant to be followed. I did have 2 of my children in school for some time before I discovered homeschooling and unschooling. And I've also had 2 children that never began that transition into school. So I've gotten to see what happens when children do transition out of school very young to begin unschooling, and how that continues through to the teenage years and into adulthood. And I've also seen what happens when children never actually have that transition, and the learning just continues throughout the years, and there's no concept of beginning or ending that journey. Unschooling is just a natural progression of learning and development that never ends, and there's no formality to it. There's no, it's time to learn this thing, it's time to learn that thing. It is all based on the child's interests, passions, desires, and their internal guidance, which is always speaking to them, always knows what direction they need to go in. And unschooling is about supporting and nurturing that internal calling and guidance within the child to learn and discover things the way that they are meant to in their own perfect divine timing. Unschooling in the teenage years, what does that look like? Well, if unschooling in the primary school years looks like following your passions and learning things based on what you are interested in, then it is no different in the teenage years. When we think about the concept of getting a job and working, this still applies. There is no sudden pressure to go out and get a job and be financially secure. Just as in the primary school years, there's no pressure to go to school and learn and get an education. They are both exactly the same. If my child wants to go to school, they can choose to go to school. If my child wants to get a job, they can choose to get a job. And if they don't want to learn, or they're not ready to learn something, whether it's in a school or an institution or at home, they aren't forced to learn that. And in the teenage years, if they are not ready to learn a skill or get some qualifications and earn some money, then they don't have to. I personally went to school up until I was about 15, but I also had several jobs, and this was just what I wanted. I loved working at that age. I loved getting out and getting a job, and I want the same for my children. In saying this, though, I don't believe that all children are ready at the age 15 or 16 or even 17 or 18 to go and enter the workforce, particularly unschooling children who have not been forced to grow up and become adult-like before they're ready, like they tend to be in school environment. My eldest was probably 19 when he got his first serious job, and he's now, or maybe 20, but he's now approaching 24, and he's been in his job for more than 2 years and he loves it. He has a qualification. This is a child who was pulled out of school at the age of 10 and allowed to video game till his heart was content, all day, all night, every single day of the week. If he wanted to game, that's what he did, and he learned reading and writing and science and everything he needed to know doing the things he was interested in. He didn't actually have any interest of getting out there and trying employment until he was 18, and so he tried a few things off and on until he had another long break and then felt ready to go again. So development doesn't always happen at the ages that we think. We think that children are ready at the age of 17 or 18 to go and get a career once they've graduated from school, but this is not always the case. They may just feel pressured to go and do that. They may have had to adapt and mature quickly, and so they are ready. But for unschooling children who have been allowed to learn and grow and develop at their own pace, may not be ready at the age of 18 to secure a permanent job. They might still be trying things, just like my children tried sports, and they would join something and then they would pull out. They were trying things on. It's the same for getting a job. My now 16-year-old actually expressed a desire to work when he was 15, and he worked in a kitchen for about a month and he really enjoyed it, and then suddenly he didn't want to do it. And what unschooling is it's not about pressuring that child or teenager to keep doing something they don't want to do because us parents think that it's the right thing to do or that they need to do this. Unschooling is accepting that they are following their breadcrumb trail of excitement. They're going here and they're going there, but that could shift at any moment. They could be learning computer science 1 month and then their attention might shift and they might want to learn French, which is the case for my children. They learn lots of different things. They do learn different languages and computer science and astronomy, And this can last for months, or they could chop and change at different times. And it's the same with work. They're allowed to go and try on a job. They are not committed. They aren't told to stay in that job no matter how they feel. They are supported to follow their excitement. And if they're trying out a new job and they decide that it's not for them, that's good. They're listening to their inner guidance. And I say, okay, if you want to finish, that's fine. I support you. My 16-year-old also said that he wants to be a chef or an apprentice baker. And I actually learned a very important lesson recently, is that in his excitement, I actually went and called a few places to try and get him an interview. And we ended up getting one. And when I approached him, he said to me, I wasn't ready to start until the new year. I'm busy. I have projects to finish. And I realized that I had not waited for him to come to me and say, I'm ready, Mum. I have this passion to be a chef or a baker. Can you please help me? No, I decided to go and get that ball rolling out of my own excitement. And I had to respect that. And so I had to call up and apologize and cancel the interview. And I learned a very good lesson that that's not unschooling. Unschooling isn't organizing my children's learning or job interviews. It's waiting for them to come to me and tell me they're ready to embark on this new adventure and ask for my support. And then I jump in and I do what I can. So I have to respect that if he's not ready until the new year, he knows what's best. I have to trust that I don't want him out there working a job that he's not ready for, because where's the fun in that? It's not going to bring about the best experience for him if he's been forced earlier than he is ready. So yes, I learned a very important lesson to remember the essence of unschooling once again, not to jump ahead with things, and that whatever my children want to be, whether it's a baker or a chef or whatever it is that they want to be, that could change in a year or 2 or 5 years down the road. And I just have to go with the flow and support whatever they want to be in the moment. And this is the essence of unschooling, supporting our children in whatever they want to be in the present moment, trusting that they know what they want to learn and pursue in that moment. I am just so blessed to be still on this journey of unschooling that never ends. I'm just blessed that even though my children are in the teenage years and adults, that it doesn't stop. I still get to be a part of this journey, watching their life path unfold in a natural way. And in essence, unschooling is who we are. It's our true nature. And that doesn't end. That goes on forever. I hope you've liked this video. I'm wishing you all a wonderful day. Much love to you all. Bye.